The auditorium was buzzing with excitement, cameras flashing as the audience filled every seat. Britain's Got Talent had always been a stage for surprises, but tonight, no one expected the youngest performers of the evening to be the ones to silence the crowd. Backstage, three tiny figures huddled together. Emma, 7, with her curly ponytail bouncing nervously, whispered to her friends Mia and Liam, both the same age. Their small hands clutched each other tightly, their glittery costumes shimmering under the backstage lights. "You think they'll like us?" Mia whispered, her voice trembling. Emma smiled, her dimples deepening with determination. "We didn't practice all those nights for nothing. We just have to dance like we do in the garage." Liam, usually the shyest, added, "And if we get scared, we look at each other." Like always. Their mothers peeked from the wings, their eyes glistening with pride and worry. The children weren't professionals. They were just kids who had found joy in dancing together after school, turning a dusty garage into a stage. Yet now, they were about to face the biggest crowd of their lives. When the announcer called their names, their little hearts pounded. They stepped into the blinding spotlight, hand in hand. Scene 2, The Doubt in the Air, the beginning performance, 250 words. As the children shuffled to center stage, Simon Cowell raised an eyebrow. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, while Amanda Holden offered them a warm smile. "And who do we have here?" Amanda asked gently. Emma stepped forward, voice small but clear. "We're the tiny trio. And we're 7. Laughter rippled through the audience, soft, polite, but skeptical. A group of kids barely taller than the microphone stand, facing a stage where world-class acts performed? It seemed almost absurd. "What are you going to do for us today?" Simon asked, tone flat. "We're going to dance," Mia said with quiet bravery. More chuckles. A man in the audience whispered audibly, "Bless them, this'll be cute." The music began, a slow piano intro, haunting and unexpected. Not the upbeat, childish tune everyone had anticipated. The children froze for half a second, but then Emma nodded to her friends, and their tiny feet began to move. At first, their movements were small, almost hesitant. A collective murmur swept through the crowd, "They're just kids. It won't last." But then, something shifted. Their steps grew sharper, their synchronization flawless. Every leap, every twirl, every drop was executed with precision. Their bodies told a story far beyond their years, a tale of friendship, courage, and holding on to each other through fear. The laughter stopped. The audience leaned forward, their skepticism replaced by surprise. By the time the beat dropped, jaws were already beginning to fall. Scene 3, The Transformation, the dance explodes, 300 words. The children erupted into movement, every beat perfectly matched, their tiny frames moving with the sharpness of trained professionals. The audience gasped. It wasn't just dance, it was raw storytelling. Emma twirled to the front, her arms slicing the air with elegance. Mia followed, flipping into a split that drew an audible cheer. Then Liam, the shy boy, launched into a daring spin, landing with a stomp so powerful the stage seemed to vibrate. The judges' expressions transformed. Alicia Dixon leaned forward, eyes wide, whispering, "They're 7? That's insane." Amanda had her hand over her mouth, while even Simon's usual stoicism cracked into something resembling shock. The children moved as one, weaving patterns that spoke of unity and resilience. The garage where they once practiced was now alive in every step, every beat. Their small bodies hit the floor with gravity-defying energy, then rose into graceful arcs. The contrast between power and delicacy drew gasps and applause with every sequence. When Liam faltered for half a second, Emma extended her hand, pulling him back into rhythm. The audience erupted at the sight, proof that their bond was as strong as their dance. By the time the music surged into its final crescendo, the children were whirling so fast, so fearlessly, that the stage lights blurred around them. The crowd was on its feet, clapping, screaming, cheering, no longer watching kids, but witnessing artists. As the music stopped, the three froze in their final pose, hands linked, chests heaving, sweat shining on their foreheads. And then, silence. Followed by the loudest standing ovation of the night. Amanda was the first to speak, still on her feet. That was extraordinary. I don't think I've ever seen children perform with so much heart, so much maturity. You told a story. You made us feel something. Her voice cracked slightly. Alicia's eyes shimmered with tears. You're only 7, but you dance with the soul of people who've lived a lifetime. That bond between you, it's powerful. You didn't just dance, you moved us. Even David Walliams leaned in, smiling warmly. You three showed more courage than most adults who come on this stage. You proved that greatness has nothing to do with age. You're incredible. Finally, Simon cleared his throat, leaning forward with an uncharacteristic softness in his eyes. I'll be honest. When you walked out, I thought, this is going to be sweet, maybe funny. But what you just did, that was one of the best dance auditions I've ever seen on this show. And I don't say that lightly. The children's eyes widened. Emma bit her lip to hold back tears, Mia clutched Liam's arm, and Liam, usually so quiet, let out a tiny laugh of relief. The audience chanted, "Golden buzzer! Golden buzzer!" The pressure built. The kids stared at the judges, their little chests still rising and falling. And then, Amanda reached forward. Her hand slammed the golden buzzer. The auditorium exploded. Golden confetti rained down like sunlight, showering the stage in shimmering light. The children gasped, spinning in circles as glitter stuck to their hair and costumes. Emma covered her mouth, tears spilling as she laughed. Mia stretched her hands out, catching the falling gold as if it were magic. And Liam, once shy and unsure, raised both arms high in victory. Their mothers rushed from the wings, sweeping them into hugs. The crowd was still on its feet, roaring with pride and joy, the sound echoing through the theater like thunder. Simon smiled, a rare, genuine smile, and leaned toward his mic. Remember this moment, because people will be talking about it for years. You're not just kids. You're stars. The children looked at one another through the falling confetti, their hands still linked. They weren't just 3 little dancers from a garage anymore. They were dreamers who had stepped onto the world's biggest stage, and proven that sometimes, the smallest feet can leave the biggest footprints. And in that golden rain, they knew their journey had only just begun.